Philadelphia Eagles have re-signed Cam. It is official, ladies and gentlemen. Cam Jurgens is a Philadelphia Eagle for another 4 years. $68 million contract, $39.4 million guaranteed. And it is a hell of a signing. Kudos to the Philadelphia Eagles for getting this done. Congratulations to Cam Jurgens for re-signing with the Philadelphia Eagles after an excellent year, being the head of the snake that was the best rushing offense in all of football, led behind Saquon Barkley. And now for the next few years, this Philadelphia Eagles offensive line is intact. From, Jordan Mailata, Dickerson, Lane Johnson has re-signed, and now Cam Jurgens has been extended. The only position right now that has not been addressed per se in terms of a long-term contract has been the right guard. But that's almost the most expendable position on this Eagles offensive line, as noted by every year we've had a different starter there with Isaac Seumalo, Cam Jurgens, then it went to Mekhi Becton, and now it's going to potentially be, Matt Pryor, Kenyon Green, Tyler Steen, Trevor Keegan, whoever it is. You get my point, though. This contract signing, again, I think we all anticipated in Philadelphia Eagles and that this signing would get done. This contract extension would get done. But it doesn't necessarily mean that there's no concerns about this contract, right? Everybody was concerned about Cam Jurgens' back injury that he sustained during the season, particularly in the playoffs. And yes, he played through it, and he played phenomenally through the discomfort and through the pain. However, Philadelphia has a reputation and a history of being unclear when it comes to injuries in regards to their players. They believe it's a competitive disadvantage by giving out information like that to the opponents, unless they absolutely have to, right? And Cam Jurgens is no different here. We all know that he's had some nerve pain in his back for quite some time, and during the season, it was so bad that even in the NFC title game, Landon Dickerson had to play center. And then after, for a few drives or a few quarters or something like that, Cam Jurgens stepped in and ended up finishing the rest of the game at center after Landon Dickerson was getting a little banged up. So I say all that now to say that Cam Jurgens' back injury doesn't seem to be a concern for Philadelphia. And it's pretty good reason why. Okay, I know most fans are looking at this and saying, hey, you got back pain, you're a center, you're an offensive lineman. Seems like a problem. However, when you are getting the type of back pain that Cam Jurgens is getting, it's very, very unclear as to exactly what the issue was. We know it's a herniated disc. We know he was getting nerve pain down his legs and down his back. And he underwent a procedure during the offseason. Now, that can mean a lot of different things. And Cam Jurgens' procedure could have been, a different type of therapy. It could have been pretty non-invasive, where it was just a quick, 2-insertion hole. You clean up the disc, you're out of here. Or a complete removal of the disc, which is a discectomy, right? And I think for the most part, people believe that Cam Jurgens got a discectomy where he got part of, or if not all, of the disc removed in his spine that was causing that nerve pain. And at least for the time being, the time frame of when he's back to full action and cleared to go lines up with the fact that he had probably a discectomy. So he's going to be good by training camp, which is by the end of July. And usually discectomies take 10 to 12 weeks to heal before you get to full-time high-impact activity. Okay? So Philadelphia is not concerned about the injury. It's why I give me all that. That's why I'm doing all of the, background on the injury and such. The timeline fits. It doesn't seem like it's super invasive in terms of the actual procedure that was done. And Philadelphia just seems to be like, hey, nerve pain and back, again, not even Philadelphia, back pain in general, ladies and gentlemen, okay? It's nuanced. Totally nuanced. It could be super, super debilitating, or it could be very intermittent. It could be extreme one day, nothing the next day. It's very, very fluid and very, very, wacky. Nobody is an expert on the back. Anyone who tells you that they're an expert in backs, they do surgery on the back. That's about it. But nobody knows 100% how to deal with the spine. But regardless of whether or not the expertise lines up here, Cam Jurgens is back. For every fan out there who is concerned about the man's injury, who's concerned about the position, who's concerned about this contract, I could tell you, based on just the actions of the team and just my own personal experience in the field, it is nothing to be concerned about. I wouldn't worry about it too much. He feels great after the procedure. He feels good. No nerve pain. He's cleared to go by end of July. That's all we kind of need to worry about. And now the cap hit in 2025 is $5.8 million because Howie Roseman once again extended a player while they were on their rookie contract, embedding that into the extension to help with the cap hit. And then in 2026, when this contract starts to kick in, it becomes a $17 million cap hit, which is only second behind Creed Humphrey, as the second highest paid center in football. And rightfully so, by the way. Cam Jurgens, 100% worth every penny that the Philadelphia Eagles have just paid him. You went from Jason Kelce, a Hall of Fame center, and you somehow, again, we understand Jason Kelce was on the back end of his career. You upgraded at center, as evidenced by the Super Bowl trophy that we just got, led with Saquon Barkley in this offensive line, and Cam Jurgens was the center, the quarterback of this offensive line. So, got to give credit where credit is due. Cam Jurgens deserves every penny of this contract. But it's not just the contract that we have to worry about here, ladies and gentlemen. It's what this contract means for the other players on this roster, which is what I'm going to get to in just a moment. But first, this is the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. I am Asif Badi, your host, and like you, I am a Birds fan who talks about the Birds, only the Birds, and nothing but the Philadelphia Eagles. So please do us a favor here, help us grow this channel organically and be part of the discussion by liking this video, commenting your thoughts in the comment section below, and subscribing to the channel. Check us out on audio platforms such as Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and leave us a 5-star review, because in the end, it doesn't cost you a damn thing to do that, and we appreciate all the support that you give on the opposite side of the camera. So really, this contract, ladies and gentlemen, what does it mean for the Philadelphia Eagles? Well, for sure, there was speculation in a lot of draft room circles and a lot of mock drafts that potentially there's an off chance that Philadelphia could take an offensive lineman, an offensive guard with their first pick, depending on how the board falls to them. Now, in my opinion, I still think that can be true, but it's now a lot less likely, considering the fact you signed this guy to a 4-year contract and you brought in so much talent, or so many players, I should say, for offensive linemen. I don't believe we're going to get an offensive tackle or a guard in the first round. So you could check that off in terms of some of the aftermaths of this deal. I mentioned it briefly before, but for the next 2 to 3 years, 4 out of the 5 positions on this offensive line, with Mailata, Dickerson, Jurgens, and now Lane Johnson, right? They're all intact now, at least until 2027. Most of them are going to be there until 2028. So for the next 2 to 3 years, you're going to have dominance embedded in this offensive line. And it is the reason Philadelphia always is in the mix to being a perennial playoff and Super Bowl contender. This is the bottom line. No matter how bad you are on defense, no matter how good you are on defense, without an offensive line, it is tough to do anything in this damn league, and you have to have an elite one. In Philadelphia, I think a lot of people concede this. It's the best in all of football. Cam Jurgens is one of the reasons why. So, offensive line, check mark. All taken care of for the most part. But now here comes a little bit of the out-of-the-box sort of aftermath of this. And that's in regards to Jordan Davis. Now, I know it has nothing to do with the position that Jordan Davis plays, but it does affect how he approached the draft now, Because if Philadelphia goes into this draft and they look at the board and they're saying, hey, we're not going to take an offensive tackle here. This is definitely not what we're going to do. We're not going to take a guard because we just signed Jurgens and we feel confident in his ability here. Now you're looking at one of two positions, in my opinion. I don't think they're going linebacker because you re-signed Zach Bond. I don't think they're touching that. I don't believe they're going to take cornerback at pick number 32 because they signed Cooper, they signed Quinyon last season in the draft. I don't believe they're going to go ahead and address cornerback 2 with a draft pick, considering the fact they still have Keely Ringo, who's super raw. He's like 22, 23 years old. And you have a Dory Jackson, who you brought in on the roster as a veteran. Plus, you guys have like Eli Ricks. And again, not that he's going to be a player for cornerback 2, but you get my point. There's a lot of guys here on the roster that could potentially play cornerback 2 who are fighting for the position. So cornerback's off the equation. Linebackers out of the equation. Offensive linemen are out of the equation. I don't believe you're getting a tight end at 32. Like the tight end class here, outside of Tyler Warren, I mean, you like Colston Loveland, yeah, but like other than that, who do you really like? Nobody in the top, no one that's going to be there in the first round pick. You know what I'm saying? Like everyone's going to have a little bit more value in the second, third, maybe even the fourth round of the draft. Like a Mason Taylor would be dropping down to the second or third round. That kid from Miami, Arroyo, he would be a second, third round type of pick, right? Like you're not going to take them and reach at 32. So it only really leaves defensive linemen. And I've talked about it in the previous episode that Philadelphia is going to take a defensive lineman. It's just a matter of whether or not it's going to be an edge or an interior defensive lineman, like a defensive tackle. And if all things point to this team going towards interior linemen, think of it this way. Milton Williams signed for $26 million on the open market to the Patriots. Josh Sweat signed for $18 million with the Cardinals. Now, I know age has to play a role into it, but having interior pressure is the key to disrupt any game plan for an offense. We saw it with Brady. You saw it with Manning. You saw it with Mahomes this past Super Bowl. Interior pressure is the way to get these quarterbacks rattled because they can't step up. They have to move around. They have to go to the outside. And that is a tougher ask for a majority of the quarterbacks in the NFL, especially those who really thrive from the pocket. And honestly, the teams that you're going to be playing in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl have pocket passers. So you got to be able to generate interior pressure. And Philadelphia is confident in their ability to replace guys on the outside. As you saw some of the signings that they made with Josh Uche. You signed, you drafted Jalix Hunt last season. He's panning out. Nolan Smith, they have confidence in. They signed Bryce Huff last season. People forget about that in the offseason. They're going to want to put him out on the field and see what he has and let him prove that he indeed is a bum of a football player. Again, it might have just been a bad year last season. Let's give him a year to kind of develop. He's also a young player. Let's see what Vic Fangio can do and see if they actually like Bryce Huff, and hopefully he's able to kind of straighten his career out in Philadelphia. And you sign Azeez Ojulari, who, again, is a versatile lineman, but plays more the pass rushing role and not necessarily a guy that can, play all three downs and go after the run and all that jazz, right? So then you're really left with only one option there. I don't think Philadelphia is going to take their first round pick if they decide to keep it there and go after an edge player, unless it's somebody who knocks your socks off, like a James Pierce or someone like that. I think they're going to try to get a guy like Walter Nolan. And if that kid is there from Ole Miss at 32, I highly doubt it. But I have a feeling if he's there, Philadelphia is just going to put the pick in very quickly and sign him. And I know people want to address safety, and they really want to go after like a guy like Malaki Starks, but I think Minnesota's going to take him, right? Regardless, the board's going to fall a certain way for the Philadelphia Eagles. And if they decide somehow to take an interior defensive lineman, the overall arching point of this is because that they extended Cam Jurgens, and if they decide to take an interior defensive lineman, what exactly are you doing with Jordan Davis at that point? I was a proponent of potentially signing him getting him on the books for the next 2 to 3 years. But I don't think $18 million is what Philadelphia wants to pay for a player who's only going to be on the field on first and second down. That seems to be what the message is there. And if Jordan Davis, he needs to stand his ground as a player and not compromise his worth. Don't take $12 to $13 million. If you deserve $18 million per year, you deserve $18 million per year. That's what you have to do as a player. It is not the organization's job. It is not the player's job to take less money to help the organization out. It is the organization's job to find a way to get these players under contract and the player's job to get as much money as they can. So again, Philadelphia is not going to sign Jordan Davis for $18 million per. This Cam Jurgens contract extension, while it was necessary, makes that contract negotiation with Jordan Davis that much tougher. Because now, where's all the money going to go? And if you know anything about the Eagles offseason, and if you track what I have been talking about this whole offseason, this organization, this 2025 NFL offseason for the Philadelphia Eagles has been all about money. Saving money has been the goal for the franchise this offseason. In order to do that, you have to make sacrifices somewhere. You sign Cam Jurgens, and potentially there's even some ways where they structure the contract where you can get an additional $2 to $3 million on the cap this season. Now, I think right now their cap space, I think it's roaming around 19 to 20 million right now. You're still going to need money to be able to sign some of these draft picks. And we still have 20 in the next 2 years. Are we going to use all 20? No. But we're certainly going to use a good chunk of them. And if Howie Roseman decides not to trade up but trade back, you're going to have to sign multiple players to a long-term contract on rookie deals. And I know it's a little bit cheaper, but you got to have cap space to do that too. $18 million for Jordan Davis ain't going to cut it, ladies and gentlemen. And that's what makes this Cam Jurgens contract very, very paramount, and what the cascading effect is, because it's going to affect Jordan Davis's contract negotiations, because he's kind of the pillar right now in terms of what Philadelphia is going to do and what direction they're going to change. And if they keep him, they're going to have to pay him a good chunk of money. If they let him go, you have to wonder what exactly is their next step forward. The NFL draft is going to determine that, but I also think this signing of Cam Jurgens, the extension, the fact that you got him for $39.4 million guaranteed over the next 4 years, the cap hit of $17 million per, I think that goes to show that says, hey, Jordan Davis, are you worth more than Cam Jurgens is to us? I think the answer is no. Hey. Thank you so much for watching the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. If you want to continue to support the channel, please hit the like and subscribe button down below. Also, check us out on Instagram and TikTok at Riding the Bench Eagles Pod. We're also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it, we're on there. Thank you so much for listening, and please join us next time here at the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast.